Everyone's ready. I'm going to kick things off here. My name is Paul Sandstead. I'm the Director of Technology and Sustainability with the Transport Project, and I am excited to welcome everyone to our third technology webinar for 2025. This is a quarterly webinar series that we host here at TTP, and this particular webinar is a special session. Typically, this is a webinar series reserved just for TTP members, and especially those that are involved in the Technology and Development Committee. We discuss technical advancements, anything that's new and upcoming in the world of natural gas vehicles or hydrogen-powered vehicles, and that also includes various fuel types, whether those gaseous fuels are compressed or liquefied, maybe even in a solid form, which we've discussed in the past with some hydrogen fuel options. We're constantly exploring new technologies, new advancements, and getting ready or promoting those types of technologies and advancements in the world of natural gas and hydrogen powered vehicles. So with that, I'm going to try to get this slide deck going. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to get started with some more opening remarks. And for those of you who are joining us and maybe are not familiar with the Transport Project or the Technology and Development Committee, first off, just want to say welcome. We're glad that you're here, but we're going to try to give you an overview of why we exist and a little bit of background as well on this CNG Refuse Truck Recommended Practices document that we developed and recently published. And then, of course, the majority of our time today will be spent talking about those specific recommended practices and safety guidelines that are contained in this really useful and important resource for the NGV industry. So on the right side, you'll see some of those specific recommended practices that we'll be covering today. Unfortunately, we don't have time to cover all of the sections, but we wanted to dive into those that are the most important and the most crucial in terms of creating a safety culture and just doing things in terms of industry best practices and based on lessons learned from the 60 plus years of NGVs being around in the transportation sector. Just a few more opening remarks from me. We are in this world of virtual webinars, so I think everyone's very familiar with keeping your mics muted, your cameras off whenever you're not speaking. And many of you may have been muted by default, so you may not have that option, but I think once we get to the Q&A portion of this webinar, I will unmute everyone, and you can either answer those questions verbally through your mic in Teams, or you can post questions in the chat. I would encourage anyone with questions throughout this webinar to post those in the chat just immediately as you're thinking about them actively. That way you don't have to try to remember them or make notes on the side whenever we get to the Q&A period. We'll try to address those as soon as we get to the end of our presentations. But with that, want to introduce someone who is our leader here at the Transport Project. His name is Marty Tufte. He is the Corporate Fleet Director at WM and also our Chairman of the Board here at TTP. So Marty, if you want to help maybe our attendees who don't know a lot about TTP to maybe give them a little bit of background and history of who we are.
Certainly, Paul. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Just a couple of opening comments as we get into this. Everybody knows that the regulation world is a little bit muddy right now. We've got a lot of activity going on in the past 6 months. Now is a great time to be investing in natural gas. The big thing is you don't have to do it alone, and this webinar today gives you a really good start on that. Obviously, I'm going to advocate that you would join the Transport Project as a member. We find great value in it as a fleet, as I'm sure that other fleets do as well. It's an organization that I'm very passionate about because I believe it's the right thing to do for our customers and the environment. And so I've been involved in this organization for many years. But our core principle is safety around everything to do with this industry. We started doing this back in excess of 20 years ago. And I wish I would have had this recommended practice that we're going to walk through today, because my life would have been infinitely easier. And so I would encourage you to join. I would encourage you to get involved. It doesn't do any good to just join and not be involved. So I would make a plea for that as well, and walk through this webinar today. I think you'll find it very, very valuable. Everything from the truck on the ground to the shop to training technicians, and first and foremost, all of the safety practices. This industry, this technology is very safe, but like any technology, you got to follow the rules. And we have went through this whole RP. Majority of the stuff that we have created over the years, we have donated to this project, along with all of the industry experts that you're going to hear from. So I'm pretty excited about the content of this. And with that, Paul, I will turn it over to you to introduce the rest of the crew.
Excellent. Thank you, Marty. Yeah, so like Marty said, a couple of underlying themes as we go throughout the webinar today: safety and preparation. There might be some of you that are considering a transition to natural gas vehicles or compressed natural gas CNG as a alternative fuel for your diesel-powered refuse trucks. And we really do feel like CNG is the best fuel in terms of cost effectiveness, market readiness, and environmental friendliness. So consider that as we go throughout this webinar today, and hopefully you can get a lot out of this. Get back to the slides. Okay. So real quick introduction to the Technology and Development Committee. This is really the parent organization that dreamed up this document that we'll be discussing today. It's one of the working groups in particular is the Incident Investigation and Root Cause Analysis Working Group within the Technology and Development Committee. We have bi-monthly meetings. We discuss incidents that occur with not just refuse trucks, but all heavy-duty trucks. Also mobile pipeline and virtual pipeline applications as well. Whenever there's an incident, whether it's a vehicle collision, a thermal event, or fire, we open up an investigation. We try to find out the root cause for that. We try to make sure that there are no maybe gaps in codes and standards that define the safety or the proper configuration of the fuel system. So that was really the working group where the genesis of this document and these guidelines originated from. So I just also want to say that there are other topics that we discuss within the committee. A lot of the working groups are represented by all those topics shown on the screen there. And we really focus on safety, sustainability, and industry advancement in the Technology and Development Committee. So in terms of the safety topics, we're constantly focused on training, certifications, inspections, incident investigations, facility modifications, and you're going to see a lot of those themes recurring throughout this webinar today. Sustainability, we are focused on well-to-wheel analysis of carbon footprints and criteria emissions. We want to highlight and promote natural gas as a net zero now solution. Might not be zero emission out of the tailpipe, but in many cases it can be net zero when considering the upstream emissions reductions that are possible. And also in terms of industry advancement, we do a lot of work with promoting and proposing R&D funding proposals, not just to the DOE within the federal government, but also within other research collaboratives within the utility sector. And so we also try to expand refueling infrastructure is also a focus for us in industry advancement. Maybe a lot of that is through virtual pipelines. Also do a little bit of dabbling in LNG, liquefied natural gas, for high horsepower applications as well. Also good to mention hydrogen internal combustion engines as well, and fuel cells, because we recently rebranded to the Transport Project, formerly NGV America, for those of you not aware of that. So we're now not just a NGV focused transportation, or excuse me, trade association. We are focused on all gaseous fuels, primarily focused on RNG and green hydrogen for decarbonizing the transportation sector. So with that, let's get into the recommended practices for the CNG refuse trucks and the supporting facilities for refueling and maintenance as well. We recently published this earlier this year, and we really do feel like it's a important resource for CNG refuse fleets to reference in order for them to achieve the greatest efficiency and operational success with the lowest risk. So here is a quick overview of the guidelines and the recommended practices that we published. Those of you that are good with QR codes, there's a QR code on the screen which will take you directly to the document for download. It is publicly available, and I've asked Kirk Ross, who is a colleague of mine here at TTP, to also put in a link to download that in the chat, just for easy reference for you to download as we go throughout the document today. But we encourage you to keep this resource active and easily accessible, either on your desktop, printed out on your desk. It is chock full of so many useful safety recommendations and industry best practices, such as those listed on the left side of the screen there. Going back to the development of this resource, there was a task force of industry experts, like Marty mentioned, that we assembled in order to get all the right people involved with the right technical expertise to put this document together. So you'll see them here listed on the screen. Everyone is going to be speaking about a certain aspect or topic of the recommended practices today. Everyone except for John Takei with WM. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us today, but Marty will be filling in for him. But I want to express my gratitude to this entire team that helped put this document together, and especially express my gratitude to WM, because a lot of the content came from their manuals and their training documentation, and we were able to build upon that to create this resource for the whole industry to benefit from. Our task force leader is Nitesh Shroff, and he will be our first speaker today. Nitesh is a mechanical engineer specializing in new product development for CNG powered refuse heavy duty trucks. He leads all new design and development projects for HAL related to CNG powered refuse trucks from engineering side, and has worked there for 9 years. He has 12 years of experience in CNG vehicle fuel system design and 19 years overall experience in on-highway heavy-duty trucks. He is part of several CNG standards subcommittees and organizations, leads working groups here at TTP, and has been awarded 2 patents for his accomplishments in this field. During his free time, Nitesh likes to travel, listen to music, and spend time with his family. And I should also mention that Nitesh is a certified CNG fuel system inspector. So which leads us to our first topic of the day. Nitesh, I will let you speak to the CNG fuel system inspection best practices.
Thank you, Paul. Am I clear?
Yes, sound good.
Okay. Thank you for introducing me, guys. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to lead the group, because like Paul said, basically these are everybody I know in the industry from many years and have been the experts in different fields. So that's been a pleasure to serve this committee. What we do at HAL, like Paul said, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I lead all the CNG projects for our company. Just to give you some background, like Paul was saying, I believe in CNG also. We do a lot of CNG trucks every year. and ship them to different customers throughout the country. It's like every other technology, there are some challenges, but like Marty mentioned, if you respect the technology and do it right, then it works and it's pretty good. Just a little bit about my company. We make refuse trucks. We are body integrators. So we serve different customers and government bodies also. And my role here is to design our own CNG trucks and lead the project in new developments. So we are body integrators. The thing we do is we have our own CNG system as well as we install third-party systems. So we are familiar with different companies and everybody involved in the CNG world. I think that's pretty good enough for the company part. I think, Paul, if you want to move to my slide, we can go to the particular section I'm going to cover today. Thank you. So guys, like Paul mentioned, there are different subsections in this manual, and I'll go through the slide, but really I wanted to mention that as you would think as an engineer, we read a lot of documents and books. This is just not another boring book, I would say. It's pretty useful. I mean, if you have this, it at least helps you to get a quick start and understand how the trucks work. So the part I will be covering today is in specific the fuel system inspection part of this. So basically, like there is like what different kinds of inspections are involved if you own a CNG refuse truck or a vehicle, right? So there are 4 different kind of inspection. So first is we call it like a pre-service visual inspection. So that's like the inspection. It's like a detailed inspection which really like an expert person does when you first receive the truck from, for example, highway. It's a inspection you do before you put your truck to service to make sure everything is good. That's a pretty short and sweet of this, what inspection this is. And in the middle column, you can see who are the people who can do this inspection. So it can be above and beyond this, but this is, like we said, it's a recommended practices. So that's what we think it's the right people or person to do this inspection for. The second inspection, we call it is after the truck is in service, right? So this is covering throughout the whole lifespan of the truck. So the first one is before the truck puts in service. The second one is like a daily visual inspection. So this is more not like that detailed like the first one. This is like just like a walkthrough around the truck and your fuel system components. You check it out to make sure everything is good. If you look at our manual, it will give you step-by-step guide of what things you should look for, not look for, and how to do the visual inspection. So this is like a quick walk around before you start your route. And basically also, at the end of the day, when you're done, you do the same thing. And this can change on each company, right? But this is our recommendation. And then the next inspection you come to is like general visual inspection. So after the daily visual inspection, this is more like a, what do you say, like a routine maintenance, right? You do your routine maintenance according to your company policy, how many hours, like once a month, once a quarter. So that's what is listed here, like a PMA, PMB, and PMB. So this would, you can assume like, it's like a monthly, quarterly, and like a 6 months inspection. In this, it's pretty similar to the second one where you do the daily inspections, but more technical and by a trained technician or a service person, right? So this is done in the shop by a service technician. So this also, this is just like an extract from our manual, but if you read the particular section, it will guide you in details, what you should do, what things you should check and all that. Again, the people who should do this are mentioned in the center column. And then the last comes is detailed visual inspection. So this is like really like so for heavy duty trucks, this is now by like the DOT, it is required to do every year. So that's what is listed here. So this is like a detailed inspection, pretty similar to the pre-service visual inspection, but this I would say is more detailed than that also. So it's like you do this with a certified inspector or a qualified person. They actually put a sticker on your system and the truck showing, yep, this is the date when it was inspected. We check these things. They give you a formal report. You keep the document for future reference. It's also to cover you and everybody else, right? That we did what we are supposed to. This should happen every year. If you go to the detail of this document, you will see more detailed suggestions on what exactly is covered in this inspection. Like Paul mentioned, I'm a certified fuel system inspector. That's what he was referring to. So there are several of us who are certified throughout the country. And we have some of our partners who also give you a list on their website to find. If you want to search for a certified inspector, they have a database. So that's a good part of it. This is generally done like every year, but it's also like you see the last line mentions, there is an exception to this. So if your truck is involved in an accident or a fire or anything abnormal, right, out of the normal spec, then you need to do this right away, like a detailed visual inspection. You don't have to wait. That's pretty much, I would say, covers this section in short. What is not listed here, I would also like to mention is, like the most important part of a CNG system is the CNG tanks, right? It also gives you really good guidelines of how do you dispose your tanks at the end of the life, how to handle the tanks, what kind of damages are there when you're inspecting the tank. There are like, it breaks up all the sections of each kind of damage and all. So I think that's good enough. It's a pretty good guide, I would say, for you guys to refer, and we all are here if you need any help on this. I think that's all I had, Paul, if you want to add something.
Thank you, Nitesh. I think you got it covered. At least that was a really good overview. Like Nitesh said, there's a lot more in this particular section of the recommended practices document that can provide a lot more information, not just on the fuel system, but also on the cylinders, as Nitesh mentioned. And also, we do have a completely separate section on defueling, decommissioning, and disposal. So, at the end of life for the cylinders, it provides a lot of good information on exactly how to handle those when they reach their end of life. Moving on to our next section, and I'm starting to see some questions in the chat. Thank you, and keep them coming. We'll get to those at the end of our presentations. Next up is Anna Lloyd Thomason. She's the CEO at the Alternative Fuel Vehicle Institute. She merges 35 years of hands-on alternative fuels experience with a strong background in learning design to lead the company in developing and delivering world-class training and workforce development. Anna Lloyd is responsible for overseeing all facets of the company. She drives its mission, vision, and operational standards. Under her leadership, AFVI, which is formerly NGVI, has trained more than 25,000 technical professionals in the U.S. and worldwide. Anna Lloyd began her career in the natural gas industry as Director of Marketing for Lone Star Gas Company in Dallas, Texas. She holds a MBA in Management from Amberton University in Dallas and a BBA in Management from Abilene Christian University. So, Anna Lloyd, thank you very much for joining us today, and I'll let you speak a little bit about this training matrix that we developed.
Thank you, Paul. For those of you who have been around the industry a long time, you heard Paul say we were known as NGVI. There was a lot of rebranding that went on in 23 and 24, and so we rebranded from NGVI to AFVI in 2023 because we have since then embraced hydrogen training, battery electric training, fuel cell training, propane training, all the alternative fuels. So let me tell you a little bit about AFVI if you're not familiar with us. We are the leading independent training provider in North America for specifically in the natural gas arena for the natural gas vehicle market. We were established in 1989, so we've been in business nearly 40 years. We've trained over 25,000 technicians, drivers. I think Paul referred to that earlier. We are an ASE accredited training provider, which means we have special accreditation that is given to you by a special group within ASE. And we are also an NCCA compliant certification body. So that's our activity. We do a lot of work with refuse fleets. Waste Management is our largest refuse fleet customer, but we work with other commercial refuse fleets. We work with municipal refuse fleets. So we have a very broad understanding and a very close working relationship in that industry. Paul, if we can go to the matrix itself now. There we go. So my role with this committee was to help assemble a matrix of all the different employee types that work in a refuse company and all the various training programs that are recommended for these employees. The training that we offer at AFEI establishes the baseline knowledge and qualifications that all of these employees must have before they advance to manufacturer familiarization or internal company procedures. So as a general rule, customers will start with us, get the foundational training, and go from there. I can't talk about all the job roles. You can see the job roles or the personnel responsibility types are spread across the top, and they range from vehicle drivers to all the different types of technicians based on their responsibilities, and then fueling station maintenance teams, and then also to the firefighters, emergency responders, etc. So today I'm going to focus on 3 that I feel like are really fundamental and 3 where we do the most work with refuse fleets and other fleets. The first is often overlooked, and that is driver training. Drivers need to know not only how to drive the vehicle, which is pretty much like you would drive a diesel refuse truck, but they need to understand the fuel system components and how they work. They need to have a respect for the pressurized gas, and they have daily inspection requirements that help ensure the safety of those vehicles. They also have special emergency scenario procedures, especially involving a load fire. Those are very important. So NGV driver training must include that for the refuse market. And then also how to just safely fuel the vehicle. At AFEI in our training catalog, this course is called CNG 502, and we have a special version of driver training just for the refuse market. So that's our 502. We're not the only ones who offer driver training. Lots of other folks do too, but in our course catalog, we offer specific training for refuse truck driver fleets. The next group that I will group together broadly is technicians or technician supervisors or technical support teams. So you'll see across the second row, there are a lot of checks in those boxes. Every technician who works on or around natural gas vehicles, I don't care if you're rotating tires or changing oil and you're not touching the fuel system, needs to have fundamental NGV safety training. At AFEI, we call that NGV Essentials and Safety Practices. That is our course number, I think it's CNG 101. And basically it introduces to technicians and supervisors and others involved in fleet maintenance to the fuel, how it behaves, the fuel system components, what they're comprised of, what their function is, all the different safety practices and procedures that you must use from a generic standpoint when you're servicing a natural gas vehicle. And then it also includes safe defueling practices, just an overview. We need every technician to understand those sorts of things. We want every technician to be able to identify when there is a situation that may not be safe with a vehicle so that they can report it to those who are responsible for that type of maintenance or repair and just make sure that there's ongoing safety. Our entire mission at AFEI is safety. That's where we're focused. So you can see that there are different personnel types that are listed there. We've got the routine maintenance technicians. You've got maintenance technicians who are maintaining the CNG fuel systems or repairing fuel systems. This course is also a prerequisite for anybody who is a CNG fuel system inspector. It's kind of an introduction to the whole world of CNG. And also designated emergency personnel, you'll see over in the far right side of the matrix. So that course is a basic fundamental course for everyone. The next course that is has the most checks in the boxes, I guess you would say, is the CNG Fuel System Inspector training. Nitesh referred to this earlier. The fuel system inspections are the heart of ensuring the safety of a CNG fleet. And so CNG fuel system inspectors need to understand first and foremost the types of codes and standards that the fuel system is installed according to, because that's the foundation of the training. Every one of our training courses is based on and should be based on the codes and standards that determine exactly how a fuel system is supposed to be installed, what components are required, where they're supposed to be installed, etc. And then the fuel system inspector training goes through each component, starting with the fuel receptacle, going all the way to the regulator, the pressure regulator, and gives detailed information on how to inspect it. What does good repair look like? What does disrepair look like? What does damage look like? And it goes into, Nitesh mentioned the cylinders, he called them tanks, but the cylinders that are on the vehicles, those are probably the most sensitive part of the fuel system. And so in the fuel system inspector training, we spend quite a bit of time teaching technicians how to apply manufacturer's guidelines to inspecting those cylinders. The other thing Nitesh mentioned is certification. I noticed there were some questions in the chat already about fuel system inspector certification. We offer fuel system inspector certification. We have offered it since 2016. Since that time, we have certified just over 3,000 fuel system inspectors across North America. Our fuel system inspecting training is not just valid for the United States, but we have a Canadian version as well. So we cross the border and we can do Mexico if it's a possibility. So certification is very important if you're concerned about liability, risk management, that sort of thing. You can train a technician, but the only way you can validate whether they are able to apply what they have learned is to do that in some sort of a certification exam process. And so we administer that. I want to skip down lastly to the firefighter and the first responder training. I think Marty and also David, Kate will talk about that a little bit more in their presentations, but I just want to emphasize how important this is. It's available from a lot of different sources. We have firefighter first responder training. It is online training, so it's easy, it's inexpensive, and basically it covers the fuel system and components and how they function, which surprisingly most firefighters are not familiar with. It covers specifically focuses on the cylinders, the PRDs, the valves, the fuel lines, etc., because those are the components that firefighters and first responders need to interact with most frequently. And then it talks about proper response. And I'm not going to steal any of David Kate's thunder, but there is a proper response to a refuse truck accident or fire that is much different than a gasoline or diesel response. So this particular training matrix basically gives all the refuse fleet operators a tool to look at and say, okay, I have this many technicians who are going to be servicing vehicles but not working on the fuel system, so they need that basic fundamental training. I need this many technicians that we're going to designate as CNG fuel system inspectors. I need to designate training for those guys, and it kind of helps delineate because not every technician needs every training course. And the same for firefighters, first responders, the same for drivers. So we at AFEI, this is a generic matrix. It's not just dedicated to AFEI, but we at AFEI we try not to include information in training delivery that is not necessary for that person to do their job. So each one of our training courses is built on a job study, and that's how proper training should be. I think that's my big points, and I hope I didn't use more than my time.
You are good, Anna Lloyd. Thank you so much. I think a good summary to Analoyd's presentation and to the topic of training in general, I don't think it's possible for us to overstate the importance of training. First and foremost, whenever you start to deploy CNG trucks or you're considering a transition, having your personnel trained is the most important fundamentally in terms of being successful and creating that safety culture and that knowledge and awareness as you start that journey. So next up, Chris Culberson is going to speak to us a little bit about decal and labeling recommendations. He is the customer care manager at Cummins Clean Fuel Technologies. He has experience 11 years with Peterbilt Motors in off-highway design engineering and field service. He also has experience 3 years with custom vehicle solutions in engineering and operations. 10 years he's been with Momentum Fuel Technologies and Cummins Clean Fuel Technologies in engineering, service, and training. He has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Texas A&M University. And Chris, if you're ready to go, this is I think one of the most important topics that we developed in this document that previously was not really broached as much as I guess I should say, from the perspective of going beyond what codes and standards recommend. So I'll let you take it from there.
Okay. Well, thank you. Can you hear me, Paul?
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. So Cummins Clean Fuel Technologies, we were formerly Momentum Fuel Technologies. Cummins bought 50% of us, but we are same company, most of the same employees here. We are a CNG fuel system manufacturer. We do design of fuel systems, manufacture of fuel systems, do some installations. We use mainly third-party installers around bodybuilders to do our installations. We do service, and but we've been in business since 2014. We are exclusive to heavy-duty trucks. We don't do any light-duty vehicles, any passenger cars or any of that. We're exclusive to heavy-duty trucks. Several of our employees, including me, have been around the trucking industry for a long time. My entire career has been with vocational trucks. So for the past about 25 years, I've been around heavy-duty vocational trucks. So if you want to go to the next slide, Paul. So we participated in the training with the LA Fire Department that Waste Management sponsored. There were several different companies throughout the CNG industry that participated in it. One of the big concerns and comments from the first responders is knowing that the vehicle is fueled by an alternative fuel method, whether it's CNG, LNG, there are a few hydrogen vehicles on the road, electric vehicles. All of them have different firefighting first responder response procedures, and they don't always know when they're coming up on the vehicle that it is one of the alternative fueled vehicles. The standards for natural gas require decals of a certain size, reflective background, certain colors, to be placed in certain locations on the vehicle. One of the things that I don't think was ever considered before that first responder training is visibility from a distance. In the event of an accident or a thermal event, so a fire, the recommendation is to set up a 100-yard perimeter. With that 100-yard perimeter, the size of the decals and the letters within the codes and standards is not sufficient to read. So if I'm staying 100, if I need to stay 100 yards away from it, I may not be able to tell from 100 yards away that it is a alternative fuel vehicle. So one of the things that we have recommended in this is larger decals We've also tried to get standardized locations on them. There's a standard that says it has to be on the right rear near vertical surface, but what exactly does that mean? So is it a truck? Is it a tractor? Is it going to be at the back? Is it going to be on the cab? So we've tried to come up with standard locations. It says that you need to have a decal on each side of the power unit, which we're showing here. But that's kind of vague, and so where is it going to be on that power unit? Where should we put it? Where is it going to be visible if we've got a fire? So those were some of the things that we really took to heart from the first responders. We've got a couple other things that they recommended that we're still working on, see if it's still a viable option to do it. And if you go to the next slide, again, you can see here on the left, that's the decal that meets the current codes and standards. If you're 20 feet from it, you can see it. You can tell what it is, that blue diamond with white lettering there. It is reflective, so it'll actually stand out better in the dark. But if you come up during the daytime, what are you looking at? Is that really a CNG diamond? Is it something for the bodybuilder? Is it something for the owner fleet of the truck? What is it? So our proposal again, if you'll go to the next one, is to do much larger decals with much larger lettering. They're still the blue with the white reflective lettering, but they're much larger. We're also doing PRD vent location. So a lot of people do not realize that if a PRD activates, which is the thermally activated pressure relief device, that it will be shooting a stream of natural gas. We've seen it 50 feet or more if it is a fully fueled system. So we've recommended a much larger decal, much larger print, much just to the point decal, just say PRD. There's some standards that talk about other lettering, but by the time you're reading it, you're standing right beside it. Manual shutoff valves, again, that's another one that we need to let the first responder know where they're at. So making much more prominent decals, let everybody know what it is. And also, where are the CNG tanks? So if you weren't trained and you came up on this truck, you wouldn't know where the CNG tanks actually are. So we're recommending decals to actually say, put on the shields for the covers, for the tanks, where the tanks are at, where they're located, so that the first responders know where they can and cannot put water. We're training them on where to put water and where not to put water. But if they don't even know where the tanks are at, then it makes it very, very difficult on them. And I think that's about it, Paul.
Yes, sir. I think you covered it, Chris. Thank you very much. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep rolling to our next section. Our next speaker, who is David Kate. David is the Program Management Manager at Hexagon Agility. He joined Hexagon Agility in 2009. He's responsible for leading the program management team that manages a myriad of product development projects, from vehicle CNG systems to virtual pipeline products. David's early years with Hexagon Agility were heavily involved in managing the design and integration of CNG fuel systems in the refuse industry. David's early career included various positions from mechanical design engineering to engineering manager for software design automation solutions. The most recent company provided software products and design services to standardize new product engineering processes and decrease the engineering process cycle time. The activities require developing an in-depth knowledge of each new company's products, manufacturing processes, and business systems to streamline and automate the development process. Products ranged from appliance timer cams to over-the-road tank trailers and hybrid electric buses. So David will be giving us a quick overview of the emergency response procedures that Anna Lloyd gave us a brief teaser about earlier. So David, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Paul. So Hexagon Agility is the largest CNG cylinder manufacturer in the U.S. with over 100,000 commercial vehicles deployed globally. We are dedicated to first responder awareness and safety. We have a comprehensive suite of virtual and face-to-face training programs for technicians, drivers, and first responders. It's just a quick rundown of the company, but Paul, if you want to go to the next slide. So mitigating CNG hazards. The first section here is damaged vehicles. So when arriving at the scene of an incident involving a CNG powered vehicle, especially one that's been damaged or is leaking gas, it's critical to follow a structured safety protocol. So these are some of the key points that we have in the document. Setting the parking brake prevents unintended movement, stabilizes the vehicle. Turn off the engine. Shutting down the engine eliminates potential ignition source. Turning off the electrical system. It helps prevent sparks that could ignite leaking gas. Turn off the CNG fuel tanks. If it's accessible and safe to do so, isolate the fuel source to stop further leakage. Turn off hydraulics. Hydraulic systems can also pose ignition and mechanical hazards. Monitor for gas leaks. Use gas detection equipment if available, and stay alert for the smell of gas or hissing sounds. No smoking. This one seems obvious, but it's worth reinforcing. No smoking anywhere near the vehicle. When it comes to thermal events, if a fire or a thermal event is occurring, the response shifts to protecting lives and minimizing secondary damage. We as an industry have trained thousands of first responders with as many as 600 in one session. The overwhelming feedback we've had is that we don't know what we don't know. So this is something, a theme you're going to hear from you have heard from everybody that's talking, is we have to remain diligent to getting the message out. So in a thermal event, we want to evacuate within 100 meters, 330 feet. This is the minimum safe distance due to potential for explosion or projectile hazards from pressure relief devices. Firefighter best practice, let the vehicle burn. Unless life is at risk, the safest approach is to let it burn and focus on protecting nearby exposures. Don't spray water or foam or dry chemicals on or around the CNG fuel tanks. These substances can interfere with pressure relief devices and increase the risk of tank rupture. Do not position ladder trucks or personnel in the path of the PRD vent. I think Chris spoke to this too. Pressure relief devices vent high pressure gas in a specific direction. You've got to stay clear of these paths to avoid injury. So, the hope is by following these procedures, you can significantly reduce the risk to first responders and the public. There's a lot more information in the document that this team put together. So please jump into that and take a look. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, David. Just a quick comment from my exposure to the first responder training sessions that I've been attending. It's so hard to tell or to, I guess, educate first responders that when they arrive on the scene and one of these trucks is on fire, don't spray it with water. I mean, that is just inherent in a firefighter's brain that when they arrive on scene, that's just what they do. It's what they've been trained to do. So it's a struggle. We still have a lot more to do in terms of first responder training, but in general, we try to tell them just let it burn. If there's no life at risk in or around the truck, let that truck burn. Let the pressure relief devices do their thing, and that's typically the best approach. On to our next speaker. Marty Tufte is going to fill in for John Takei at WM. As you know, he's the corporate fleet director. And just to give you a little bit more of his background, he is located in Phoenix, Arizona. He's served for over 38 years in progressively responsible positions within the company, and he presently oversees the equipment performance programs at the enterprise level. Waste Management is the leading provider of comprehensive waste management and environmental services in North America. Mr. Tufte and his team have pioneered WM's use of alternative fuel vehicles and oversees all new technology programs. These include natural gas, RNG, battery electric, hydrogen, hybrids, and telematics programs, to name a few. Mr. Tufte has a technical degree from Austin Technical College and has a strong technical and fabrication background. So, Marty, if you're ready, tell us a little bit about the maintenance facilities and refueling stations.
Thank you, Paul. Make sure that we're good to go there. Okay. Jumping right into this, on the maintenance facilities, we have 225 stations that we have designed, build, own, and operate at WM. One of the most difficult or probably unknown technologies is how to upgrade a maintenance facility. This document will take you through the vast majority of that. Paul, if you would jump ahead one slide. This document will take you through that. It is impossible, I want to set expectations. It is impossible to put together a document that will cover every single structure out there because they are so variable depending on that. But this thing will give you an overview and a really, really good start, talking about ventilation systems, electric and lighting, insulation, heating systems, gas detection, where the danger zone is, LNG goes down, CNG goes up. And as always, we can go by all of the codes and standards, but you will also run into your local authorities and their interpretation of the rules. In my experience, if you go in with a reputable design build firm, you know the codes like we do and our subcontractors and trusted suppliers do. You set a plan, you put together what you've done in the past, and put that in front of them. It goes a lot better than leaving it for them to make it up on their own, because interpretation is a slippery slope. Not all fire marshals see it the same. And not all local counties or cities see it the same. So you're going to have to work through those variables. But I can tell you, 200 stations in, none of them were insurmountable, and we've gotten through all of them and have never had to quit on a project. So this will take you through the basics of that. It will talk about everything that you need to do. Next slide, Paul, in the interest of time. is some of the, on the outside of the maintenance facility, you'll see here some of the technology is like using flame detectors. We use this in our specification. You can see the orange highlighted areas here are zones of detection. So we know that you're completely covered. The vast majority of our fleet is slow fill. Doesn't mean that you have to do that. You can certainly use fast fill if you'd like. Obviously, the reason that we do that is we pack more energy on board overnight and fueling in the non-driving hours for us, which makes the most sense. But you can do fast fill, slow fill, or a combination of both. So this document is going to take you through all of those things, give you a really good head start on that stuff, and give you a basis for a conversation around an engineering firm to help you, upgrade your maintenance facilities or build a new one in some cases. And last thing I'll leave you with is this document again, safety first in this document. It will give you a really good start. We put a lot of effort into this, but the thing about, and I'm just going to pick a number here, 80% of this document can be transferred over. It is not refuse specific. It is boilerplate that applies to any truck. We wrote this document on purpose with that in mind, and we will have future editions that will go into over-the-road tractors, middle mile trucks, pickup and delivery. We will work through all of that, but a lot of the basic principles are all the same. So if you don't run a refuse fleet, that's fine. It is applicable to many different types of fleets. So with that, Paul, in the interest of time, I'll kick it back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Marty. And thank you for bringing up the fact that these recommendations can be applied to any heavy duty, every heavy duty CNG truck application. And we are in the process of working towards developing alternate versions of this document to cover other applications like Class 8 trucks and possibly transit buses in the future. So stay tuned for that. I want to try to get to questions now, and I'm seeing some in the chat. Dan was asking about certifications and the different certification providers, and maybe there's a preference within the refuse industry. I see Marty's already replied to that. AFVI/NGVI is a great provider for providing the training and certification. So that's probably who we would recommend first and foremost. Any other thoughts on that, Marty or Anna Lloyd?
I saw a little follow-up on that question, I think, about the Canadian training and certification.
Yep.
So we have added all of the requirements for B109 which is the Canadian version of NFPA 52, into our training now, and we've added it to the certification exam. So we're able to cover both the US and Canada. I mean, if you're in the US, you're not going to take the Canadian version, but in the Canada, most of the vehicles meet all the standards of NFPA 52, plus the few that are different. There are like 5 standards that are different for B109. So yes, it is a thing now.
Great, thank you. Also in the chat, I'm seeing question on companies that design and install CNG ventilation systems. That would be for the maintenance facilities. And our president, Dan Gage, has replied. And Brett, I'll try to get you some contact information on some of our specific members and providers for that service.
Yeah, you
question.
can provide that, Paul. There's a full list of them that are members. Obviously, that's who we would recommend first. One of those was mentioned in Paul's opening remarks. J.R. Leonard Construction, trusted supplier of WM, has done a good job for us. That's one, but there are many others.
Yeah, I would probably recommend Jim Leonard first and foremost. We're out of time. I do see a couple other questions. Stephanie will try to get to answering that through email, but I don't want to hold everyone up any longer than we have to. So Real quick, our next technology webinar will be on November 5th. It is limited to TTP members only, but we'll be talking about compressed gas fulfills with a complete smart fueling system. And then lastly, we are hosting a in-person event in DC, October 7th through 8th. It's our annual fly-in, and we'll be doing some public policy and lobbying on the Hill. Registration link is here and will also be included in the recall materials that I sent out. So encourage everyone in attendance today to join us in DC next month. With that, we will adjourn for the day. Thank you so much to our task force and our speakers today that helped to put this document together and for all the great discussion and overview of it today. And thank you all for joining today. I'll wish you all a good rest of the day and hope to see you soon.